Hey y'all, welcome back. Let's go ahead and dive in and see what Divine Holy Spirit has for the collective. Divine Holy Spirit, what do you have for the collective? What does the collective need to know and be made aware of? Yes, and thank you. Hidden in plain sight. That's what I just heard. Three of Wands reverse showing up in the pre-shuffle. Hidden in plain sight. Ooh, the Five of Wands also appeared in the pre-shuffle. But let's kind of keep that in the back of our minds. Ooh, hidden in plain sight. What is that? What's going on with that message, Spirit? Thank y'all for your likes of the videos. You know, a little like goes a long way. So I appreciate those taking the effort to want to help and get the message out to the masses. Even if it does not resonate with you and you know that it does hold truth, you just feel it energetically and spiritually, that you know that it would be a good message for someone to come across. You liking the video, also sharing, commenting, and subscribing does help energetically pass the message along in hopes that it reaches the one it's intended for. So I appreciate you all taking that initiative to want to help acknowledge and spread the truth. Hidden in plain sight, Spirit. What is that? All right, I'm being shown a white rabbit. What would a white rabbit have to do with it? So, I mean, if you think about it, a rabbit normally would be a brown of color. If we're thinking like an average color, probably brown would come at the top of the Family Feud list if they asked. Asked 100 surveyors, what color is a rabbit? And brown would come up. But a white rabbit is different. You know, a white rabbit is like a magician's tool. Also, all right, y'all, let's get into it. Hidden in plain sight and a white rabbit. All right, Spirit, thank you so much for the messages. What is it that you'd have for the collective? What's the collective need to know and be made aware of? Oh, okay. Clump of cards just kind of politely slipped its way onto the table, so I have to keep that in mind as well when we get to that energy. All right, there's a card that flipped here in the deck. All right, I feel like we got what we need, but all right, that's going to be that. Y'all, here we go. Star card. Oh boy, star card at the bottom of the deck. Man, this is screaming acknowledgement. This is definitely screaming, you know, there is no competition by way of someone who has been trying to compete with you, or either some light has been shown, you know, that would benefit you, but it's something that they weren't ready to acknowledge. Maybe they didn't know about this star quality energy that was here being possessed by you, collective. But hidden in plain sight, you know, this energy, it's giving me mysticism. I was going to say mystical. So the acknowledgement is here, y'all. So it's like hands down, someone gracefully bowing out. Oh, gracefully bowing out, you guys, in a dream that I had last night. Someone was handing me a white robe to put on, and it was my graduation from college. And I needed a blue robe, you know, to be able to fit into the colors of what everybody else would be wearing, like the school colors, whatever. This particular person was handing me a white robe with tags hanging on it. So is somebody surrendering? Are they waving the white flag? Is that the energy? Is the acknowledgement of you being the star now? They're not going to dispute this. They're not fighting this anymore. And the theys are probably looking right at me. One's not wanting to acknowledge it, and one is. One is saying, okay, you got this. And it's coming by way of the King of Swords. And I wanted to say the most deadly element by way of a court card in this entire deck. This would be the threat, but this is the one bowing down saying, you got this, like surrendering white flag energy. Y'all, let's get into it. So that star card energy is overall underlying energy for this entire reading. So yeah, let's get into this. Let's go into the King of Swords, and then backing this King of Swords energy is this Queen of Swords reverse. So you got the king, of course, you know, would in a hierarchy situation, they would be above the queen. So not even considering any gender-based energy. I'm just looking at, you know, the stats here, because the king is the one who is able to bring it. And the queen is backing that energy under normal circumstances, because they are counterparts. So she has no other goal or other duty than to back this king, because she is the queen. Now in the reverse, she's not backing this king on this one, but the king is absolutely taking stance in what they believe, what they know, swords or thoughts, what they've been shown, however that is, that you are the Star Collective. I can come to so many conclusions as to why the Queen of Swords would be in the reverse position. So obviously the king would be going against something that they already had planned. They already had it thought out how this was going to go down, whatever was about to be or considered to be executed. And I'm saying it would have been against you, but the king has received all the acknowledgement that they need, that this is not the one to mess with at all anymore. We need to stop. We need to turn the car around and go back where we came from, is what the king is telling the queen. Because this star energy, we can never come up against that. The king is saying, I had no idea that it was this strong. And undisputed is something I'm hearing. So you've been winning. I mean, that's star energy, of course. You stay winning, collective. But whatever happened recently, it took this final thing to let them know you need to back all the way up. The Queen of Swords, however, is possibly giving this King of Swords heat at this point. But if I were the Queen of Swords, I would be careful, because that sword from that king could turn on this queen. And maybe that's the problem. Maybe now, since the truth has been revealed to this king, everything is going back to this queen now, as far as the king looking at the queen like, I thought you were someone else and you're showing not to be that person. So if this King of Swords connected to this Queen of Swords energy by way of marriage, commitment, whatever, it was under false pretenses. Because I can already tell you that the king thought that they had the star already. But now they're acknowledging who the star is by way of you, collective. So if this is your ex-person, that's who I'm talking about. So now they're connected to this queen, but now they know the truth. The queen is not the star. All right, let's keep going. So underneath this energy, let's see what's happening here. We did have the Ace of Wands come out. So this is a new opportunity, but right behind that is the Nine of Swords. So I have to get into this to see what's going on. So there's an opportunity for them to be able to get themselves out of this Nine of Swords energy. You know, the Nine of Swords is all about restless nights, you know, the anxiety that's tied to that, to where they're unable to get a healthy night's rest. They can't sleep. But it's because of this opportunity that's presented itself. They just don't know, because there's so much in their heads, these two, but I'm just really talking about the King of Swords right now. They're always in their heads about a plan. So whatever plan was, because I did have the energy of whatever they tried to execute, they're like, turn the car around. I'm not doing it. That's what the King of Swords is saying, against what the Queen of Swords wants to have happen, or what they plan. But because now they know that the plan is a no-go, there's some sort of Ace of Wands attached to that. Now, whose Ace of Wands is this? That's what we need to find out. This is a new opportunity but it's around an action. It's going to be blessed because of actions are going to allow someone to have, these footsteps in the right direction, like taking the steps and them being blessed, them being granted. So possibly that Nine of Wands, it's what's causing this stirring up of emotions to where there's mental conflict, to where they can't rest at night. It's they don't want to be in the dark. They might have headaches or migraines because of the plan. They can't go along with the plan now because they know that this Ace of Wands means a new opportunity, and they're not going to be able to get in the way of that. So I'm hearing something about past judgment, or past, like past tense, past judgment. But let's keep going. You know how these readings are. There's a nice crescendo that happens in these readings. Toward the end, it's like, boom, mic drop. All right, Nine of Pentacles, because that happens for me too. Like, okay, yes, okay. Nine of Pentacles here is on the side. So this is definitely energy of somebody who goes in and out of knowing their worth. But I feel like this was like a prey. Like if this team, so if we're talking about a team with this Knight of Swords and this Queen of Swords, a duo. So them coming up with plans and motives and plans of attack, with their thoughts and the arrangement of thoughts, ideas that will never come out in the open by way of speaking them into existence, because there's something with these two and their thoughts. Like they're able to connect in that way. So there's little that has to be said here. It's all about making the arrangement, making the plans. So if this had to do with them seeking out young, innocent girls. So I'm talking about an activity here that these two might have been. Well, I heard scapegoat. So scapegoat would have to do with placing involuntary blame on someone else, like unsuspected of them, they're being blamed for something. So if this was a chance for this duo to go against the innocent in regards to taking what it is that was of value to this individual in this Nine of Pentacles, that was the energy. Like, what can we get from them? They look valuable. They talk like they have value. Their actions show that they have value. They look like, they could bring some sort of abundance to us, is what this pair is saying. So we're about to get into some practices here. I heard malpractice. Malpractice is like a legal term. So this might be something involving courts at this point. But this was some sort of operation here between these two. So this Ace of Wands feels like opportunity, right? In the upright, of course, it's being granted. But let's see what's going on. I feel like we're going to find out about this Ace of Wands here, because the Ace of Wands really should not be connected to this duo here. In a good sense, this duo doesn't deserve anything good to come their way. But let's see. Underneath, okay, well, here you go. Underneath the King of Swords and the Queen of Swords reverse is the Seven of Swords reverse and the Seven of Cups. Let's talk about it. So the Seven of Swords reverse is one of the worst cards of betrayal that you can get, because, of course there was betrayal between these two, but that's why they work together, because they don't trust each other. So when they're working alongside each other, it's like it's a lifter of, you know, that burden of, I wonder what they're doing because I haven't talked to them. But when they are able to communicate, then they know that they're kind of on the same page in regards to what the agenda is, what the plan is. So they're better together in that sense with this Seven of Swords reverse because of the lack of trust. And then the Seven of Cups just confirms that, you know, all over the place, they can't trust this person because there's just been too many instances that have hit them emotionally to where there are red flags. They don't know what cup to choose. They don't know how this person's going to respond. And they're talking about one another. This is like matched energy here. So y'all, there's something about young girls' opportunity. And then underlying this, the star card, knowing who the star is. So if energy has been like retracted, like all that was being thrown toward you, like as far as like, you know, evil eye or whatever they were doing behind the scenes to try to cause you despair. You know, wishing evil or bad intent upon you, your life, your home, your family. All of that's been redirected because they had, the King of Swords specifically had no choice but to acknowledge that you are the star and they don't want smoke. So now that's turned back on this Queen of Swords because now they're looking like the guilty party here. Or they're not all who they were cracked up to be to this King of Swords. Let me see what else is here, y'all. Unsuspecting victims. When I think about this Nine of Pentacles, that's what I hear. I think I mentioned that already. All right, this group of cards just kind of slid out of the deck. I wasn't going to forget how these just kind of politely just came on out as if they wanted to be unnoticed. All right, let's see what's here. So they were on the side, so I have to interpret it neither upright or reverse. It's like a to be determined energy. So the Death card is here. This is calling for transformation. This is calling for it's time to fess up, get your life together, acknowledge your hurt, your pain so you can heal. You know, the Death card could mean other things as well, but let's see what this is leading up to. So we have the Five of Pentacles is here. So somebody is not feeling valued in a situation or organization, a family. They're wanting to possibly be back on top. Because that's where the wealth is. That's where the money is, the growth is. Like if somebody had dollar signs in their eyes, then they're seeing that as an opportunity to get back into what it was that they were cast out of. All right, let's see what else is here. Look, Three of Pentacles. So this is acknowledgement of help or wanting help, needing help. Either help is coming or help is being refused. It's being denied. Like you're not going to receive the help. And this is not you, collective. Not with this transitional energy because you're the star. You're already where you need to be as the healer. You've healed and you are the healer. You're tuned in, tapped in. You got your spiritual backing on go. On go. So this is someone still, an energy of them wanting to have things go their way when it's not designed to be that way at this point. But it's still like just wanting to make the push because to them it's all about money. It's all about, you know, that's what's driving everything. That's what's worth. That's what's value here is money. And that's not the case. But they're not getting this. They're not understanding this. All right, behind the Three of Pentacles is the Sun card. So there is a situation where the sun does need to come out and reveal itself. The sun, there's unhappiness here. Hold on, y'all. Let me see what else has got happening here. Something's wanting to come up here. It just feels like if I could only get, it's just like a constant, like, hopeful energy, but it's forced behind this pentacle energy in these cards. Like, you can't force the elements to abide by what it is that you would want them to do. That's not how this works. So, you know, that energy of them always plotting and planning, and then, you know, they can't trust one another. So then, you know, as far as, you know, they're together, then they can kind of keep an eye on one another and know that the other one's not going to slight them. And that energy is going either way with this King and Queen of Swords. So all of this planning, and then, you know, I mentioned migraines, headaches, and that Nine of Swords. It's like it's just like overdoing it when it comes to the force behind trying to make something happen here. Which is interesting because, you know, if they are for, okay, well, I mean, the magician energy, you know, the white rabbit channeling that came up is back. Especially with that forceful energy here, trying to make something happen, of course it's against someone's will. But I'm thinking, how many times has this happened now? With this Nine of Pentacles energy, that young innocent or young girl, like, how many girls have they ran across that they've taken advantage of, you guys? That's where this is right now. And that Ace of Wands is what's guiding me in that direction. There was always a new opportunity, or them thinking of a master plan for a new opportunity, but it was by way of these young empresses, these pre-empress energies here. Some stuck, some did not, because the card is on its side. But it was always an opportunity to make sure that this one was confused, that they kind of lacked guidance at this point, because that was the main ingredient for who the King of Swords and the Queen of Swords would pounce on, pretty much. That one. They look promising. They look like they had, you know, some things going for themselves. But there were just some things, because obviously if they're in a low vibration, then it would be easy for these two to slip in. Like they could sniff it out. Energy vampire energy. They could sniff it out. There's that connection to thought that I was telling you about with the white rabbit, the magician energy. So I wanted to mention earlier telepathic energy here, because it's so strong right here. It's so strong with these two. They don't have to say much. They don't have to do much. So even in this energy, I'm like, they probably don't even talk much. Or by way of like communication to where others can hear it. Because I said something about speaking out loud. That really was not a lot of that being done, because all the strength was in the energetic mind. Look at the swords out here. All right, y'all, speaking of swords, we got the Six of Swords here. We got the Lover's card energy, and we have Judgment. I'm going to get some clarifiers, and we're going to see where the cards fall for the clarification. Spirit, can you clarify the energy on the table? Let the cards fall as they may. But yeah, this has to do with just some strong telepathic energies here. So you wonder how it is they know to plan. Well, the plan of attack is already just been constituted. If I could put it that way, that was a given. The attack was given, or the plan of. Now, how they were able to select their victims came by way of this Nine of Pentacles reverse energy. Somebody who showed up like they had something going for themselves, but they were in like a low vibration. So if this meant going out scouting in bars or clubs, y'all, the confirmation is what it is. That's what just happened. Their victims were found in bars. False person energy. It flipped over in the deck, but I'm just going to let it slide off. The Spirit, if you would just clarify the energies. Let the cards fall as they may. All right, we're going to go with this. Message of concern at the bottom of the deck here. So the bottom of the deck energy, I just feel with this message of concern is just kind of finding out something that's kind of heart gripping, because you didn't know. You had to find out by way of somebody else informing you of this. Collective, this could be your energy or where you were once upon a time, because you were this Nine of Pentacles and that's how you all met. To where now they're your ex and now they know that you're ineffable. They can't mess with you. They can't touch you. They had to surrender, white flag, acknowledge who you are. You're not the one, hands off. They don't want smoke. Now, the communication would have had to come by way of some other source, because that Nine of Pentacles is not in a position to be able to say, oh, this is a bad guy, or, you know, whoever's behind the scenes with them, they're bad people. So it would have to be communicated some other way. All right, we got that. Let's see the clarifiers that came out. I do have 2 more cards here in the general tarot spread that I haven't revealed yet. But let me turn this card over, since it's borderline touching the Seven of Swords energy and what has not been talked about yet. So we have official person. So somebody's tapped in. Somebody in a uniform, wears a badge. They're able to be of authority. They're tapped in here. They're tapped into this duo, to this pairings, to the goings on, because there's some sort of track record here. Because I told you this plan, they've been working together. They're better together. They prey on these unsuspected victims by way of young girls. They could be teenage girls. But, you know, that energy of them finding victims or recruits in bars. So maybe there's this underage thing, because it's low vibrational. So if you do have someone who is underage and they're in a bar setting and they have fake IDs or whatever, that's prime targets for this duo. Because it feels like situations to where they know that they'll be able to point the finger back at the other person to blame them for whatever took place. And I mentioned, excuse me, y'all. Let me get a sip of water. I know I mentioned fake IDs for a reason. So when that official person, when I laid eyes back on this energy, I'm like, okay, well, that would make sense if they're being watched. They may have something to do with this operation of getting these IDs made. Yeah, I just kind of felt like this is an operation here. So there's some sort of business behind this. Because that Ace of Wands is a new opportunity, but these aren't blessed opportunities here. So I had to take my time with that one. So some sort of a legal operation here. Now let's see what else is here, because I do obviously see the World card here on its side, and then right over the top of that face down, it's a King of Cups. So could this King of Cups be the one who's going to bring this ending, this completion by way of this World card? That is the official person. That's the agent. That's the person who It would have to be unsuspected of this King of Swords and this Queen of Swords that this King of Cups would be working for an agency to take them down. Because false person card being here, the King of Cups is saying they're not who they make themselves out to be with this false person card. And the King of Cups is the official person. So, you know, they've declared, you know, that they could go ahead and take this couple down. They're the ones to do it. They wear all the honorary badges. They've been dedicated to what it is that they do. So they're celebrated and admired and acknowledged for being the person to do it. So this could be a detective even. It's somebody with authority, with great authority. But the King of Cups is unsuspected by this King of Swords and Queen of Wands. So I would want to say for them to be so low key or undercover or being able to keep tabs on what's going on here, they have to have had some sort of association with these two. You know, that Seven of Swords in reverse, that lack of trust and not knowing who to trust with the Seven of Cups. That's the entanglement here. Because the King of Swords would not want these two to know who they really are and what they're up to. And it's crazy. I look at the star card at the bottom of the deck and the star is just beautifully just looking over this whole situation. Like, yeah. Right. And if you are the Star Collective, you know exactly what my sentiments mean right now. Okay, let's see what these clarifiers are here. I'm gonna go ahead and turn them over. So we have unexpected income and thief and child card both in the reverse. So y'all, I told y'all I had to do something with taking from a young female, a child, you know, a teenager. A teenager to me is still a child. I don't care what anybody says. They haven't lived long enough to start adulting. Even in early 20s, like, they still should receive some sort of attention to care. Because they've not lived long enough. And they could never expect what would be coming from a King of Swords energy and their companion, the Queen of Swords. They would never be ready for this type of heat. They would never see it coming. But this is what's being done, and this is why it's being investigated. So there's stuff against child or child energy by way of teenagers. Unsuspected income, they don't know that they're being robbed. What was that in the beginning that I said? What did I say in the beginning, Holy Spirit? That had everything to do with this energy right here. Oh, man. Hidden in plain sight. Hidden in plain sight. So I'm hearing open target. Because they don't realize what's about to happen here. They don't understand how the cover is about to be blown in so many different ways. Because to them, I guess it just felt like, you know, it was just part of their daily activities, you know, them being able to get away with it. Because I have to go back to the idea earlier that I said there's not a lot that has to be physically spoken here. Like, this is telepathic. So possibly between these two, keeping things very quiet on the front, you know, there's no flamboyancy here, you know, by way of them showing off different things. It just always was kept very tight-knit, close kept, quiet, whatever this operation is. So it is unsuspected here. And that's how this King of Cups was able to kind of slide through and keep tabs. Because this would be somebody that's connected to them. Now, could the Queen of Swords be in cooperation here? I told you they can't trust each other. So this King of Cups would have to be being fed information, is what I'm getting. And could it be by this Queen of Swords reverse? It could be from the King of Swords. Because these two, y'all, I don't know how many different ways to say it. These two can't even trust each other. All right, so all y'all need to know is they backed up off of you because they realize and acknowledge who you were. They don't want smoke with you or your people. But now it's turning in the camp. It's turning within. So there's like a silent battle brewing here because they have no idea that it's somebody that they have in their own camp that is playing the role of the informant or detective or whatever this is. Like they wear a uniform, or either they're reporting to someone in a uniform. False person card. Thief child, they've been using these young victims. All right, y'all, that's what I have. I hope this helps.